What is it like to get the coronavirus test? And does it lead to a bad haircut? Find out on this episode of the Hey Giraffes vlog.
So, why did you get tested?
Well, last February, I traveled from the US to Poland, going through Paris and Berlin on the way. And about 14 days later, I started noticing some symptoms of a warm, feverish headache and some general pre-cold symptoms. And this gave me a little pause because I'd been traveling. At the end of the day, we decided to get tested so we can alert the friends and family that we've been in contact with, and also so that Monika can visit the gynecologist.
Since I'm pregnant and I have to sometimes do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know if I can do that safely, not spreading the virus. Because there are also elderly ladies coming to this doctor, and the doctor sees a lot of patients generally who have obviously different diseases. So that was one thing. And also we have a friend who wanted to help people around, and especially elderly people. So we wanted to know, since we've met with him, if he was also in danger of contracting the virus or not.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't you get tested right when you got here?
Well, there's a few reasons. One is because I honestly wasn't aware of how long you could have the virus and be a carrier and not feel symptoms, about 2 weeks. And before, I was like, well, I'm not feeling sick. I must, I was trying to be vigilant when I was on the plane and wash my hands a lot. So I must have, been able to get through without getting it. And so that's one reason. But also, you had mentioned.
Yeah, actually, even if you wanted to get tested right away after you came back, it probably wouldn't have been possible. Because about 2 weeks ago, not everybody who traveled would get tested. Now we have closed borders, so anybody who travels is kind of an exception. But just 2 weeks ago, all the borders were open, and there were hundreds of people coming on every airplane and on every train and on every bus. So if everybody wanted to get tested, it's not only above Polish capacity to test everybody, but any country. So what was the test like?
Well, at first they checked my blood pressure, checked my breathing, asked me some questions, and then they brought out the test, which is in Poland, a long swab that they put through your nose, through your nasal cavity, onto the back of your throat. And I would describe it a very uncomfortable feeling, very just irritating in a way. It caused a natural reaction of tears and some coughing, but it was over very quickly.
So if you need the test, don't worry about it. It's not too bad. But if you just want to get the test for fun, it's not fun.
Yeah. And not only that, but I got tested by my mother-in-law. And so why was my mother-in-law there?
Well, my mom is actually a nurse, and she used to work at the ER right next to the place where you would go to get checked for the coronavirus. But since they need more staff there, so she was transferred actually from her ER into this department of contagious diseases. And she's just one of the nurses working there.
And since your mom works there, what can you maybe say about some common misconceptions or misinformation going around?
I think first of all, it's just really important to rely on good sources of information anytime, not only now. It's good to remember to ask the healthcare professionals and to listen to what they say, and not just make our own theories about things. Well, Sam got tested, so...
Tests are available here.
Yeah. And also there were many other people that day that got tested. Another misconception is, my mom actually pointed out before we got Sam to go to the hospital, that there is also a risk factor in getting tested. When you go there, you will meet other people who are also getting tested and possibly positive. So even if you didn't have coronavirus before going there, you may get it. And you may also get some flu by going there, so it's not an easy decision.
Just double check with your local healthcare nurses, doctors, and ask them whether or not in your specific situation you should go get tested, and try to listen to their advice.
Yeah, check that by calling them. And another misconception that I hear passed around a lot is that we are not really doing anything to help this crisis in Poland, but the things that you hear in the news are true about some hospitals getting turned, whole hospitals being turned into just contagious diseases departments. And that includes also my mom's hospital, where many things were changed just because of this crisis. Also, with the tests, we at first from Poland we would send them to Berlin. Then we had a laboratory in Warsaw, and now we have a laboratory that is prepared to check the tests here in Wrocław. So things are progressing, and our healthcare is putting more and more effort into dealing with this disease.
Also, your mom now is kind of my personal hero, I think, at the moment. Being actually in a high-risk category herself, having asthma, being in her 50s? Okay, yes. And working now as a nurse in that department. What is her motivation to do that, to be in that kind of situation, to provide care?
I think what really motivates her is that she really doesn't look at her own safety as the biggest value in life, and her own comfort isn't the most important thing for her. And she actually wants to serve people. That's why she chose this profession. And I believe many people who are working in the public healthcare, that's their motivation. They want to really help other people. And I think what helps her to deal with the fear of what happens if, possibly I get the virus and I get ill, is just the fact that she believes life doesn't end just with death, and she believes that she got an incredible example of a sacrificial love from Christ, and that's why she wants to just follow that example.
And so we have another little tale of why to trust the experts instead of our own whims and fancies, and this begins when I decide, okay, if I'm going there, like we mentioned, you could get sick, so I want to wear a mask to either protect myself or protect other people if I have it. And so the best way to do it is to shave, because the mask only works if it's completely sealed. And when I shaved, what did you think about that?
Well, I generally think Sam looks better with a beard, and especially when he had his really long hair, since we've been postponing going to the hairdresser for a while. I thought it just kind of didn't go well together.
We're not a fan. We're not a fan of the shaved face and long hair combo.
Yeah, so I decided, since we're in self-quarantine and can't really go out and get a nice haircut, I would just become the hairdresser. I can fold the piece of paper into quite even parts, so I guess my hands are
functional. Yeah.
So here's the effect of that wonderful haircut.
A little asymmetrical action going on. Although it's asymmetrical because we decided to stop at the.
This is the best part, I think.
At the first
this
half.
Is the best. Shorter here, longer here.
And then I tried to fix it at one point and use a razor, and then I realized I don't know anything either, and it just made it worse. I will be wearing a hat from now on until this whole
crisis ends. And our personal crisis of bad haircuts ends here too.
Yes. One more thing I think to mention in this time, because there's I think a really great opportunity we have to think about deeper things while we're all huddled up at home. And one really interesting thing that I've discovered in this time was this essay written by an author we both really love, C.S. Lewis, who wrote the Narnia series. And he had a very interesting take on how to live in a crisis. Back in his day, it was the atomic bomb that everybody was freaking out about, and so he wrote this essay of how to live in an atomic age. If you replace the word atomic with coronavirus, it is actually really timely, I feel, for some of the things that we're wrestling with right now. So check out a link to that somewhere
here.
I don't know where we're gonna put it. And then keep up to date with us. I will be sharing the results of my test as soon as I get it. And just more life in quarantine, I suppose, as well.
And since all the cultural events have been cancelled, we're bringing a cultural event to your home very, very soon. So stay tuned for some home shows right in your living room.
From Hey Giraffes. Awesome! So, subscribe, ring the bell, and share with friends. And make sure you are quarantining yourself or social distancing if you can. Not to be overreactionary, but as a way that we can think about people like her mom who are serving in those fields. And we want to make sure that the system, the healthcare system, doesn't get overloaded through this crisis. So even if you're not in a high-risk category yourself, be aware and mindful of others in this time.
And especially people who are elderly and who have other diseases already.
So, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.